Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime, here at my next Star Wars comic review. This one's going to be for Star Wars Kanan issue number 12, the final issue of this series. So yeah, it's now over, and just quickly run through, we had issue 1, we had issue 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this is issue 12. Just rather run through those issues, the different covers, and see where the series was and where it's come to now. And I'll just say overall, I don't think this was a particularly strong conclusion to the series. I really think they just ultimately didn't need to at all in any way frame Kanan flashbacks in any sort of a present day story, knowing that they couldn't do anything important with them. I think that what this comic series should have just been is just the flashbacks. They should have planned it out a little bit better and had it in order. So the stuff that actually takes place in the second half of the series should have been first, leading up until the end with Order 66. And then maybe on the last couple of pages of the last issue, have some sort of a present day thing about something that reminds Kanan about these memories. But obviously, it was planned to, I think, only be like 5 or 6 issues initially, and then they extended it out because it was doing quite well. I appreciate them extending it out because I think the Balaba accepting Kanan as her Padawan was ultimately an important thing to tell, leading up to the whole Order 66 thing. They just went about it a really weird way, looking back on it now, that we get the important flashback in like the first 2 issues, and then we get back to the less important stuff. But yeah, this whole issue is basically just present day stuff. It's kind of confusing the way it starts off, in that, like, where we left off the last issue, let me just actually check here. Kanan obviously was out. They were freed. He got them out of that situation with the stormtroopers. Where we start here, it's basically just like, oh yeah, the Ghost crew left. Me and Ezra can't go because we're doing something on the planet Kalar. And they just established he goes over to meet Gamut Key, who's obviously the governor leader of this planet Kalar, who we saw way back in issue 1, and we've seen him in the series at various points throughout. I don't think he's been the strongest character, but he's obviously an ally of Kanan at this point. And basically the mission that they're here to do is that they have to help get one of Kanan's old friends called Morphysio out. He goes over to his family, and they say like he joined a rebel cell and got captured. They need you to get him back. So that's what this issue is about, basically. It's just Kanan and Ezra trying to rescue this former ally of Kanan, who is now in danger, obviously, because he joined the rebel cell. So, we very quickly get established to us that the way they're going to do this with the Ghost and the Phantom, obviously with Hera and the rest of the crew, that Kanan actually has his own secret ship, and Morphysio's family is keeping it safe for him, and they have been doing so for a while. And he constantly refers to this ship as his baby, and it's called the Escape. Okay, so the Escape is a ship that was previously shown to us before back in issue 4. Obviously, this was the ship that he used to escape off the planet when Kalar was captured. And it was just this other situation where he had to escape from the people who were trying to help him, Cleve and so on. But it's just nice to have the ship come back here. That he still has it. Doesn't really get blown up throughout this issue, so it's a ship that he still has, and I'd like to see it in the show come back. This was actually a pretty nice callback to the previous issues, that he still has this ship. And yeah, they go off to this planet called what's it called? Planet Lahn, Lahn. They land here. They quickly locate where he is. They just go in there. Ezra has to make a distraction. At this point, he doesn't have his lightsaber, and I was really confused throughout most of this issue as to when it actually took place. But he still is using his kind of energy slingshot thing, and he's trying to create a distraction. he tries one way, it doesn't work, tries another way, and it does work, but he's being chased by stormtroopers. Kanan goes in and is confronted by a new character for the comic series called Captain Sloane, or as she is now, Vice Admiral Sloane. And it's interesting because when I first got to this page, I'm just like, I've heard that name before, but where's it from? And then it just took me a second. I was like, the A New Dawn novel, the Rebels kind of prequel novel establishing how Kanan and Hera met. She was the kind of main kind of villain antagonist in that series, and her and Kanan clashed a couple of times, and they actually flash back to a moment in it, and they actually tell you where it's from, an encounter on the planet Gorse, and it says in the box there, see A New Dawn novel. So that's really interesting that this character's returned. She's got a promotion, and she's actually been doing some research on Kanan after that incident, and basically says that the trail ended on the planet Moraga, and it seems Kanan Jarrus never existed before then. So she's roughly aware that that's not his full name. We obviously know it's it's Caleb Doom and stuff like that. But yeah, she makes a joke about where's the Twi'lek pilot you were hanging around with, and they make the constant kind of joke with him throughout the issue of him constantly saying never mind to everyone's questions. He says never mind about my name, and he says never mind about her either. And he says it to Ezra earlier on in the book. But yeah, he reveals that he does have the Force, which I believe is the first time he uses it against her, and revealed to everyone he's a Jedi. And basically temporarily knocks her out and escapes, and he frees his friend Morphysio. Yeah, Ezra just reveals that he got into a really bad situation trying to distract the stormtroopers and was basically cornered, and he was saved by a character we don't know at the moment when Ezra tells the flashback, some random guy helped me out in the street. And then we cut to basically the final sequence, and it's Cleve and obviously Casimir, who have teamed up, as we knew from previous issues. They're talking, and Casimir's talking about the incident meeting this random kid, and he just talks about how he just said thanks and left off and ran off after I helped him, and he just explains that I don't know why I helped him. It's because maybe the kid reminded me of someone, and then he remembers obviously young Kanan or Caleb at the time when he met, and their kind of friendship that formed in some of the earlier issues of the series. And that's the final page, but we do also get another thing. Sloane wakes up and is approached by the Grand Inquisitor, asking her to tell him all of the information she has about Kanan. So he's actually really interested in this Jedi, obviously, now that she's completely aware that he has Force powers. So this is establishing to us that this is the reason the Inquisitor takes such an interest in Kanan. That he got the information from Sloane, who's a character from A New Dawn. Really nice connection there. And in general, the Casimir reflecting back on his time with Kanan was a nice way to end it, but not particularly strong, just because they were really only together for an issue and a half kind of thing, and yet they were clearly making it out to be a sort of friendship, that after he lost Balaba, Casimir was the next person he formed a sort of bond with, and that's how that formed the other side of Kanan as a character, that the Jedi stuff comes from Balaba, whereas the kind of roguish stuff that we kind of know of him comes from Casimir. And I was hoping throughout the entire series that they would explain where he got the name Kanan from, but they don't. It's really frustrating. I initially thought, and I thought this the whole time, that the Casimir's name is Casimir Janus or something like that. I was hoping that Kanan formed his name, Kanan Jarrus, from a mix-up of the various parts of Casimir's full name. But they never really hint at that in any strong way, that that's exactly where it came from. So the series just ends on a weird note for me. It doesn't seem particularly strong. I like the flashback stuff throughout the kind of earlier parts of the series and stuff like that, but for the most part, I felt so many aspects of this series were very weak, especially the framing stuff. When when it came to, as I said earlier on in the video, just having this present day story on the planet Kalar. Like, I get it's him returning to the place where Balaba was killed, where Order 66 took place for him. And that's why he remembers all of this stuff. But then trying to, in this last issue, create a story based off that framing device didn't really work for me. I didn't care about this friend he was looking for. And the connections they really made towards the end, I didn't feel were particularly strong at all. So it's weird. Like, ultimately, like, it's a series where Kanan has now, in the end, returned to a couple of the same planets he's been on before. Like, the planet Lon, I think, was in a previous issue. It was in issue 4 as well. But I just don't think this series is as strong as it perhaps could have been. I would have, at this stage, looking back on the series, I would have preferred much more time spent on developing a little bit more into what actually happened to him after Order 66. They cover it really quickly, and it's clear that they did that quickly because they initially only thought they had 4 or 5 issues, whereas in the end we got 12 and had to cover some other flashback stuff. But it ends up feeling that the stuff earlier on the series feels a little bit rushed, and then the stuff towards the end of the series feels like they had too much time and not all that much happens. But, you know, I like knowing about Kanan's backstory and knowing a little bit more about him, why he is the way he is right now in the series. But I feel it could have been a lot better. So I'm basically going to end it there. You know, I'd recommend this series to anyone who's a really big fan of Rebels, just because Rebels doesn't seem to be delving too heavily into characters' backstories, especially showing characters' backstories. So this is probably the best we're going to get on Kanan in terms of really learning about Order 66 with him. As much as I would really like an episode to really flash back and show us that, I think the fact that this comic exists shows that that's not going to happen. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there, and, you know, end my kind of reviews of Kanan as a series. Obviously, I'm going to continue to review the Obi-Wan and Anakin comic that's coming out. I'm pretty sure the next issue is out next week, but I'm not entirely sure on that. So, you know, and then there's the Poe Dameron miniseries coming out, which I think is starting next month as a way to replace this series. So I'll probably check that out and review that, at least the first issue, to see how good it is. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.